Good day, everyone. If you are familiar with the painting The Raft of the Medusa by Theodore Jericho, you know it is an arresting painting. It is in the Louvre in Paris. It's a life-size painting. And you see the visitors there. It was inspired by a real event that took place where 147 people on a makeshift raft were adrift for almost 2 weeks. You can't see it from here, but in the horizon there's a ship. They're trying to flag it. It doesn't see them. The people on this raft, to survive, resorted to unimaginable savagery, cannibalism. Only 15 survived when they were found. And then about 5 died afterward. I have a print of this painting up on my wall here. Powerful testament, not just to the people here trying to have some hope, but also the dashed hope, but also as to humanity itself, what we're capable of, the good and the evil. I woke up this morning thinking of a short story by H.G.Wells, The Country of the Blind. He published it in 1904. In the story, you have a village somewhere in Ecuador, which for about 15 generations has been blind due to some unknown disease that arrived shortly after the Spanish conquest. The people there have adapted a wonderful human capacity to adapt to survive. And their reality is shaped by their blindness. They have their own religion, their own culture, and no contact with the outside world. Until one day, a mountaineer who is lost finds them. He comes from civilization. And when he discovers them, that proverb that we all know, in the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, comes to his mind. At first he tries to enlighten them, reason with them. He describes the stars, the mountains, the oceans, colors to them, trying to make them understand that they are blind. There's so much that they're missing. He wants to take over, but he doesn't want to use violence. Now the people there, they think he is delusional, inferior, and possibly insane. He uses words like sight and seeing. They don't understand those words, those concepts. They think something is wrong with him. And the only way to solve that problem is to deal with his eyes. The short story by Wells inspired George Orwell, many years later, when he came to write 1984, which, if I remember correctly, came out in 1948 or 49. I think it was 49. It's an arresting story. What it says about humanity, about us. And obviously we think about people in power. Not so much that power corrupts. I believe that power reveals. And if you take away the moral compass, we can do anything we want with others. I mean, Suetonius revealed that in the lives of the Caesars, the Roman emperors. The Marquis de Sade, in his many books, also took a lesson from it. If you take away religion, you take away morality, the aristocracy, things that he thought maybe held people in check. What would stop you from doing what you wanted with others if you had the means to do so? So after I read the short story again this morning, I began thinking of other books. And de Sade came to mind, and of course Suetonius. But then other books that we all know. Some of you had to read these in high school. Goldie's Lord of the Flies. We have these kids between 8 and 12 marooned in an island. At first it's all adventure for them. They arrived there by plane. The adults were killed. At first it's all fun and games. But in time, it turns into murder and dominance. The companion piece is High Rise by J.G.Ballard. Ballard wrote High Rise as a trilogy of books that included Crash and Concrete Island. In High Rise, you have a tenement of 40-story high-rise that has everything you want. Many people there are privileged to live there. But one day they decide not to leave. Never explained why. And one day, someone gets into the elevator and someone hits him for no reason. A dog is found dead in a swimming pool. At night, the elevators are taken over. You hear screams and gangs roaming the halls. They turn on themselves. They have the capacity to leave anytime they want, but they don't. It's something that Ballard explores in much of his fiction. As we advance, technology advances, it has nothing to do with the moral compass in humanity. And with these books of fiction, they elevate the reality, just like the painting, or after the Medusa does. In Argentina, A Diary of the War of the Pig by B.Casares, who's better known for the invention of Morel, and he was a very good friend of Borges. This book, I think, came out in 1969, about 6-7 years before the military coup in Argentina. And in Diary of the Pig, one day, the young people turn on the old, begin to be aggressive toward them, indifferent toward them, and very violent toward them. And it become full circle. 1995, we get Blindness by Jose Saramago, where some plague encompasses the planet. And most people just go blind. But those that can see, take that proverb to heart. And yet some people do resist. Not just for survival, because it's the right thing to do, even though it means probably their own demise. But these are works of fiction. But we know from reality that we don't have to go to works of fiction for the heart of darkness. In the year 2000s, Jean T. Gross published this book called Neighbors, which is destruction of the Jewish community in Coatesville, Poland, in July 10th, 1941. It is 2 years after the German occupation of Poland, where the non-Jewish citizens eradicate the Jewish people in their own community. Now, yes, they are instigated by the Germans, but even the Germans say, keep at least the people who have skills or some kind of craftsmanship alive. And I think it was the mayor of this town who says, we have our own. And they proceed to kill them all in one day. Now, mind you, they don't use bullets. They use clubs. They use knives. They use bricks. They drown them. They cut them. But most of them are herded into a barn. Women, children, babies, everyone that's still alive. And the barn is set afire. You can imagine doing that to the teacher of your own children and the children themselves. Or if you are on the other side, to see the people you've known, you've grown up with, do this to you. You almost take to heart Sartre and his play No Exit that held as other people. We don't have to go, though, to World War II for such examples. We have our own here in the U.S. In 1911, in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, facts are questionable as to what led to this, but you had a man who killed a security guard at a steel plant. He said he was firing a gun into the air. He was confronted by a security guard. He killed the security guard. He himself was wounded, and then was taken to a hospital. While at the hospital, though, the mob took him out. It's not clear if the police didn't try to protect him or if they were overwhelmed. And they built a funeral pyre for him, set it ablaze. And he was tied to a cot. Eventually the flames burned away the ropes and he tried to escape. But the people used pitchforks to push him back into the flames. The next morning, all that was left was his torso. Now, if that isn't disturbing enough, it's what occurred in between the time he was taken out of the hospital and set on and killed. Because around 200 people got word of this, and they showed up just to watch this spectacle. The man also was African American. People that killed him were European Americans. Many of them were immigrants, recently arrived. John J. Chapman is now largely forgotten. but he was a fine essayist in his time. And he was very disturbed by this event. And a year after it, to commemorate it, he went to Coatesville, where he spoke at a church where only 2 people showed up. But his essay was published in it, was published in the book form, and it's collected here, edited by Jacques Bourgeon. I'll read to you how this could be explained, or at least attempted to be explained away. Briefly, this is what he saw. As I read the newspaper accounts of the scene entered here in Coatesville a year ago, I seemed to get a glimpse into the unconscious soul of this country. No theories about the race problem, no statistics, legislation, or mere education can quite meet the lack which that day revealed in the American people. For what we saw was death. Polish, German, American, doesn't matter. It's humanity. Now that day in Poland, in that town, almost 1,600 Jews were killed. Only about 7 survived. But they survived because some Polish citizens sheltered them at the risk of their own lives and saved them. Because they saw in those people their common humanity. Beyond race, beyond ethnicity, beyond nationalities. And they did what they were supposed to do. Thank you for viewing.